everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. And to all the Stargate fans out there, we would love to hear from you and chat with you on our show. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to us via any of our social media platforms or email.
This week, I think, would be a good opportunity to talk about Rush, since you mentioned you just saw the episode recently, Sabotage, which is pretty heavy on some personal stuff with Rush. And then there's another episode, a couple episodes before that, that is also heavy on some of the personal episodes. We haven't really done a detailed character feature of Universe yet. And also Rush is kind of a pretty complicated character. So I thought maybe we can kind of start talking about our first impressions, and then we can get into a little bit more of his relationship with others, his backstory, and some of the character dynamics with people in the show. So let's kind of start off with, so we're just so everyone knows, I'm slightly further ahead. I'm in the beginning of season 2, but Emily has just seen the episode, I think you said Pain, right, in season 1.
Yeah, let me just double check. Yep, Pain.
So
that's
we're talking
episode 17 of season 1. Yep.
So it's quite late, and so it's like we're talking about Rush as in like late season 1. So yeah. For all we know, there's different things that are revealed. Maybe we will revisit this in like 3 weeks and say we are completely changing our mind about Rush. But this is our opinions on Rush up until the end, approximately the end of season 1. So maybe you want to start and say, what was your initial impression of Rush?
Okay, so what I find kind of interesting is that my initial impression of him is that, well, first off, I guess I should mention that I had watched Universe before a long time ago, and I didn't remember any of it. But what I did remember is that I always loved a character named Rush. And I loved Eli. And I remembered those two, even though I couldn't remember anything that happened. And so I went into this rewatch of it knowing that I remember there was complicated feelings about Rush in the sense that he's basically an ass, but like there's something about him that you just love. At least for me, I do. So it's like I feel like what's interesting is like how before, when we've talked about like Atlantis, for example, and we talked about McKay, and we talked about when he was initially on SG-1, how I couldn't stand him. And like, but then as soon as we watched Atlantis, then it's like I grew to have him be like one of my favorite characters. And but there was initially that level of really getting the ick from that character and not liking him, but then really loving that character. With Rush, it's interesting because I think I expected him to be an ass because I had remembered him being an ass. For some reason, and I don't know why, the way he is does not bother me. And I really can't pinpoint it because I usually do not like characters like that. But I think it's because there's like a depth to his character that you can't quite figure out. And you know that there's more there, but you don't really know what it is. You don't really know like what he's done, because I feel like he was the one to kind of blame for everything initially, right? In the very beginning, with them all kind of getting stuck there. So you immediately go into it with like this feeling of like, oh gosh, like, you know, what did he do? And you never can trust him. You never know what's going on in his head. So that's my initial impression, is like, you can't trust him. You never know what's going on. He's always grumpy and kind of broody and kind of just like, kind of in his own little Rush world. And then he'll maybe like communicate with others when he wants something because he's already like 10 steps ahead planning something else. That was my initial impression of him, is that for some reason I've always just really liked him. So Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, it's funny you bring that up because I think I have also at some point had read something about him being an ass. So maybe like because of that, I was expecting him to be really big ass, but oddly, he never bothered me either. Like I actually really like the character, and it's really hard for me to sometimes. I mean, obviously, like there's some things that I like. He doesn't keep people informed like a lot of the times of things, when he has this little hidden kind of agenda. But I mean, at the same time, I don't fault him for that, knowing how some of the people are. But it's like I always feel like his motivations are so um outside. They're not like necessarily um bad. Like to me, I feel his motivations are sort of for a greater purpose and
Yeah.
something that's like beyond, he's trying to do something like beyond what humanity is doing. And so I feel like it's not like he is just doing what he's doing to be rude or a dick or because he's arrogant. It's like actually there's almost no ego involved in it. It's 100% this, this is humanity's mission. This is what we want to do. And sometimes I think that it feels callous when you look at it from the perspective of, say, how SG1 or Atlantis would run things, where they have this like no person left behind, and this sort of, like a sometimes you have to save the life and avoid the progress. Whereas I think with him, it's much more not looking at each individual, but rather looking at everything as a whole, like a bigger picture. But I think
Yeah.
when you look at it that way, I don't think he's really such the ass he's made out to be in that sense.
Hmm.
Um, so I actually oddly really, I always liked the character. And I thought there was a complexity too. And I mean, I guess we'll talk about that because we do learn about his backstory over the course of season one, at least a large portion of his backstory. Um, but yeah, to me, I genuinely like, I thought he was really cool and I really liked him.
Yeah.
But I mean, the
Yeah.
big question is like, how does he relate to some of the other like both like main characters but also scientists, like when you think how he relates to, say, McKay or Daniel Jackson.
Well, weirdly enough, as you were talking about how you felt about him, I was kind of thinking, Stargate tends to have this stereotype. Maybe there's a legit reason for it. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to have a stereotype, especially with a lot of the scientists, where regardless of what kind of person they are, they get so deep into their work that they almost neglect everything else around them or have the capacity to do so. So I feel like
Yes.
we've sometimes seen this with Daniel, but then he
Yes.
kind of snaps out of it a bit. We've seen this, and oh, I don't remember the episode, but the episode with what was his name? The older naked guy was it Ernest or
Oh yeah,
uh
Ernest. Yeah, yeah, Littlefield.
was that
Littlefield.
his name? Yeah, like I feel like that character too, I could see, getting so stuck in the study of something, they don't see anything around them. When they found Ernest on that planet, right? I'm thinking of the right person. Daniel wanted to stay there and study everything, and
Yes.
they needed to go. And so I feel like in that comparison, he's actually so similar to a lot of the other scientists. I think where he's not is that he's just not a very or at least the version of him that we see on the ship. He's not very personable. He's not
Yeah.
um he doesn't seem like he can be bothered really talking and getting to know someone, because maybe in his opinion, what's the point? Like there's other
Yeah.
things to be done, and he's kind of always very focused. Um so yeah, I guess he's less friendly, but I kind of feel like we've only seen, like, if we're thinking of scientists on like the other teams and stuff, we've sometimes seen them in happier situations than what Rush is currently in. But if we think of how he is with because I'm not sure who the other scientists are there other scientists on the Destiny?
I think yes, yes. I mean, there's the they have the
The
sign.
guy that went into the coma, I think he was
Yes,
one.
exactly. Yeah, no, there's a few.
So I mean, you don't really get to know the personalities too much, right?
Hmm.
With some of them. So compared to them, it's hard for me to say, but if I compare him to other like scientist type characters from Stargate, that's what I would say is that there's definite similarities. And maybe in a different circumstance, we would see the nicer sides of Rush. Clearly there must be nicer sides of Rush because of then what we find out later on. But yeah, I mean, how about you? Like, how would you compare him to other like scientists? Like, do you like agree with me, or like are there things I haven't mentioned?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I think a lot of that is pretty accurate. I think also, like now that you mention it, like when you were referring to sort of this like nicer side, and I was thinking, I mean, McKay had some, like, but also he was he had like other issues and circumstances and different relationships and different character dynamics. But I think the easiest one to sort of compare to in that regard is Daniel Jackson. And I think it's
Hmm.
very interesting because like you said, Daniel Jackson was the same. Like he wanted to stay because to learn the meaning of life and the purpose of everything, which is, I mean, essentially what Rush is actually trying to do. I mean, it's a different way of going about it, but really it's looking for
Yeah.
it. But I think what's interesting is, I mean, Daniel Jackson is considered quote unquote nice. Um, but in some circumstances, you could say that doesn't really suit him or benefit him or benefit the circumstance. And potentially sometimes this type of niceness can be, toxic. It can actually be part of your own ego. And like, you know what I mean, in this regard. Whereas like Rush doesn't bother with any of it. And maybe that's
Yeah.
because he doesn't need the validation of other people liking him. Maybe he doesn't need the validation of being a savior. So, I mean, you could say in some ways like Rush is actually a little bit nicer than Daniel, because Daniel did always have this like hero savior complex. So
Hmm.
I don't know. You could also look at it that way in terms of how he is. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's hard to say because he's so mysterious, but like I've found that sometimes in real life, people that seem like the ones that like seem less nice, or they basically make less effort to appear nice, usually what you see more is what you get, and in a way it's actually more compassionate than to behave the other way.
Yeah.
But
No, I can see that for sure. Like, I think Rush definitely is probably very misunderstood. Um,
yep.
Both by probably by us as viewers, maybe we misunderstand him, like as well as like the other characters, especially the ones on Destiny, like because they
Yes.
don't really know him, and I mean none of them know each other, right? So they can only go by how they all interact with each other there. So the episode where Rush is you see clips of him with his what you find out is his wife, right?
Hmm.
I initially thought it was communication stones that he
Hmm.
was using for whatever reason to go back. And I was really
uh,
annoyed at first because at first they don't show that he was on the chair and that it's more of a figment of his imagination and in a sense to find a code. So initially what I thought was he was using the communication stones. He has a wife back there or whatever. And I was like really confused. And I'm just like, why is he being so dismissive? And why is he just constantly writing on things? And there's notes everywhere. And she's like trying to get his attention and he just like can't be bothered and he's ignoring her. And I was getting so mad with him. Like I think like this is the first time that I actually got mad with his character because I'm just like, why is he doing that to her? That's so mean. And so I didn't know if it was like a flashback of like how he was with his wife or if it was communication stone stuff. And I was really confused. And then, of course, as the episode continues, you find out that it's because he's trying to find a code and figure out a code in order to help be able to do something with the ship to stop the ship so it doesn't go through the hyper space thing
Yeah.
so that they can get their crew back because part of the crew was stuck on a different planet. But at first you don't realize that. So that to me initially was making me kind of like feel differently about him because I was just like, oh, I really don't like how he's being with his wife, like at all.
Oh,
And
really?
then you find out, yeah, and then you find out like, oh, he's being like that because it's not real. Like it's not a real memory. Like he knows that it's not a real memory and he's seeing these things and interacting with people. And then also Daniel Jackson appears in that like and you know that none of it's real. I think it's after Daniel Jackson appears and I was like, wait, what is going on? Like I was so confused. Um, so then you realize none of it's real, and that's why he's being dismissive because he doesn't care because it's not really happening and he's trying to figure out a code. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would have been like that to his wife in real life. Like, like had the, and then that's when you find out kind of the sad story of like what he went through with his wife getting sick and then dying. And you see a little bit more emotion too of that later on, more near the end of the episode, I think that was, or actually he didn't even talk about it until the episode that we were also going to talk about that he was in with the assistant. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm babbling for too long.
No, that's so funny though that you mentioned that because I'm trying. I mean, I remember that scene in the episode. I'm not sure if I what I thought it was, like a flashback or whatever. But it's so weird that I didn't have the reaction of thinking, "Oh, why is he ignoring his wife?" Because in my
Oh,
mind,
really?
I was thinking, "Oh my God, he really has to get the answer to this thing," you know? And so I think sometimes like in my mind the science was so important there, or the answer was so important. And I mean, you know, this feeling of like you're looking for the answer of something, and so and then
Yeah.
everything else kind of falls apart. So it's funny that I didn't really think about that. Like that did not even it didn't occur to me, but I do know like um learning the backstory of Rush, like because we kind of this is part of the thing that propels us, I think, to learn about, you know, his backstory and what happened with his wife and everything. Like it kind of it on the one hand humanizes the character and also makes you understand why he's on this mission and why this is so important, because there's kind of like at this point I guess this is what he has. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think too, like, I mean, I wonder, like, I know I recognized the importance of the code once I knew that he was looking for a code. So I'm not sure if you remember, like, in the beginning of the episode, they made it like you wouldn't know what's going on. You wouldn't know he's looking for a
yeah.
code initially. Um, and they don't show that he was in the chair. They just make it seem like it's like a flashback, like a memory, or that it's like communication stones or something. So I think that's why I was initially getting irritated with how he was with his wife, because like I don't know if you remember, like they kind of purposefully made that a thing. Like she was always like so sad and disappointed because she would want his attention or she'd want to go do something and he just couldn't be bothered and he'd walk away and she'd look so sad and defeated. And I'm just like, why is he ignoring her? What's happening? I'm so confused. And I was so mad.
I probably thought it was a flashback. You know, like I mean, in Daniel Jackson, like when they showed some of the flashbacks where he was like ignoring his girlfriend to like look in his books. I mean, this is like a like to me, I think
Yeah.
I probably didn't even think about it because it's the most classic like, you know, scientist thing. Like when you're
Yeah.
researching something or doing something, like everything else is just out of your brain. So it's really funny that
Yeah,
like
but it made it so awful because then they also had it like she finds out she gets cancer or whatever it
yes,
was, and then
yep,
he doesn't even go to her appointment with her, and then
yep.
she's like calling him, like wondering why he can't be there, and the friend is like mad at him saying like she needs you, and you're just like, what's happening? Like this
Yeah.
is horrible, because if that actually was how things had played out, that would be awful that someone's just like caring about the science of something and they're ignoring their dying wife. But
I
yeah,
almost interpreted it as that that was pretty close to what actually happened. Like, you know, like
really?
yeah, that's how he entered kind of re-entering the memory. Like that's how I interpreted it. I thought that was kind of how it mostly
Oh,
happened. That, you know, she actually died of
oh, yikes.
cancer, and that this is sort of showing this leading up to this. And
I mean, I know that they said something where she died and he was away because I think she died. I don't know if he was away like because of being on Destiny or if it was like way before that, that like he was away doing something with sciencey work of some sort. He was away and then that's when she died. So I did catch that, but I didn't catch that he reacted in that same way that he was reacting. Like I kind of thought that he was doing that because he knew it wasn't real. But oh, that's awful if that's actually like how he was with her. That's really sad. He did
yeah,
not
no, I
deserve
don't.
her if that's the case.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of how Daniel was with Sarah when he was dating Sarah. You know, like when they would show like flashback where he's in the library and she's like, "Let's go get food," and he's really focused on like what he's studying. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Ugh. Gives me the ick.
I don't know. For me, like as someone that maybe it's just because I tend to be one that in relationships I like it when we kind of can focus on our work. Like that always,
Mhm.
like if anything, I somehow get like more like not irritated, but I think it would bother me more if I was a rush and then my partner was like constantly, trying to like I don't mind this like sort of parallel, let's work on our work together like kind of thing. Like that's a
Yeah.
how I operate. So I wonder like how, but I do know, like I know people where like this was very important, that like when you come home it's like the time of like together and paying
Yeah.
attention. But it's interesting how those like how it affects like your perspective of that. Like
Yeah,
it's very
yeah. I mean,
interesting.
I'm all for like people doing their own thing and being super into stuff. Like, I think that's fine. I think just for me personally, like the way they were portraying it, at least, they were making it like he was just treating her like he didn't care. Like she was like insignificant. It wasn't
Yeah,
just
like
that he was busy and focused. It was that he was truly treating her like she was of zero importance to him. At least that's how I took it. And so and then they have her getting sick and everything and he's still not even going to her appointment with her and times when someone would need their partner with them and need that support because it's a hard thing to go through and he's not there. So to me that all gives me the massive ick. Like I mean, I think there's probably like a time and place to like be super into your stuff, like whether it's at home or
yeah.
wherever, but it's just at least to me the way they portrayed it, it seemed like it overstepped that a bit.
Yeah.
um
You
but
also get
yeah.
the sense that they portray it that way because then he has a somewhat of a guilt on him. Like, and I don't know if
Yeah,
maybe
good
that's
point. Yeah.
partially it, but that it's almost like he can't necessarily forgive himself for that because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like probably like I mean, my guess is in this situation, he's obsessed with this work. Your partner is going through this thing, but you're so obsessed with it, you don't notice, you don't care, and they're always there. So it's like you take it for granted everything. And then you realize,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I wasn't at this thing, I was not actually doing the right thing and didn't know, like, and so I can imagine this
Yeah.
being a way of propelling. And again, maybe more stuff divulged later that we don't know about. I don't know. So but I don't know, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe that wasn't actually like how it closer to how it happened. Maybe it was just some kind of um like thing. But like in Gamekeeper and stuff, how they really entered their memories to kind of figure things out, or like with the blood of Sokar, they would kind of rejigger their like scrape their memory and then they would kind of play through it to try and do something. But
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
almost had kind of a feeling it was something like that, where that is how it happened. But yeah, I could see that really playing into his guilt and like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember if it was the end of that episode, but I do remember him saying something about he didn't want to like I think it was like the day that he knew his wife was going to die. He didn't want
Mm.
to be there and go through it all over again, is what he said. So,
Mm.
but yet I feel like I remember him saying that he wasn't actually there. So I'm not sure if he just meant his own emotions going through it all
Yeah,
over again.
probably. Yeah.
Um, and I believe he later mentions it in a later episode as well. When he was talking to the assistant that comes on to Destiny to help them with the stones, whatever those are.
Yes.
But yeah, so I don't know if that's a good time to bring up that episode.
Her. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Amanda Perry is she's the scientist that she comes on through the use of the bodies. I mean, what are they actually called? They're called like communication stones, right?
Communication stones, yep.
But I keep wanting to call them like the body swapper.
The body swappers.
Yeah, the body swappers. That sounds like a weird like B spin-off like show of something.
It probably is somewhere.
Yeah, the body swappers. But yeah, that's right. Okay, because so like we have now what we know of Rush, we know that his wife has passed away. We know he probably has some guilt about that. And this assistant shows up that swaps the body with Camille to work with him. And like, don't we pretty quickly like find out she has a thing for Rush or something?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So they do that because they have a crew stuck on another planet and they've already went into hyperdrive. And so they're trying to stop Destiny from going into hyperdrive because there's a way that they can line it up to try and get the crew back, right? And the crew that's there also is trying to figure out how to get back. And I think that's why like they have her come on, because she's supposed to be an expert, and Rush suggests to have her come on, but then he mentions like her current condition, where basically in her real life she is wheelchair bound and is I'm not fully sure if I think she's always been like that from the age of 9, if I remember right. She said that she hadn't actually eaten solid food like on her own from the age of 9. So it was some sort of condition that she had where she was in a wheelchair. She had this little like thing that like she would have to like blow into to have the chair move on its own. And then someone always having a caretaker and things like that. So then initially they switched her out with I don't remember the character, the one that had a thing with Lieutenant Scott.
Lieutenant or Sergeant.
She's brown hair.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, I think people would know who we're talking about if we say the one that had a thing with Lieutenant Scott.
James. Vanessa James.
Okay. And she at first tried and she couldn't. Like she panicked when she did the body swap, like or not body swap. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what it is. And so when they swapped, it's like she panicked and then came back. So then that's when Camille offered to. And then that's when they had what's her name come on with is it Amanda? Yeah.
Amanda Perry.
But yeah, so I think it's like like you said, pretty soon on, like as she's talking to, I believe, Eli, she's just like talking so highly of Rush and just like oogling over her memories of when her and Rush would like like talk about these theories and study all these concepts together, and how you could just tell that she was like someone that had a crush on him. And then it's just really funny at some point when she kind of admits that, and Eli is like shocked and he grossed out.
True. It's like,
and then she got offended and she's like, why? Is it because I'm in a wheelchair? And like he's just like, no, it's Rush.
Yes. I
He's
mean, to
like,
be fair,
why would you like him?
yeah.
So it's just so funny because I think that's probably like everyone else's reaction out there because of how Rush is portrayed. It's like, why would you like Rush? Like, what on earth?
But
So it's like, that's, yeah, sorry,
it's
go
fun.
ahead.
It's funny though, because didn't you bring up at the beginning of this episode, you were like, yeah, but we also only see Rush as he is on the ship, so maybe he's different elsewhere. And it's like, well, obviously, yeah, maybe that's true because everybody here had like Eli had that reaction because he knows this kind of Rush, but she knows the Rush that was probably like super smart and they worked on things together and like solved
Yeah, yeah.
problems. So
Yeah. I mean, because was he a professor?
something
I think
sounds
he
like
was
he
a
was some kind of
professor.
professor.
Because they did show him in that way when he had went back to
Hmm.
his
Yes, that's true.
memories
That's
with
true.
his wife. Um, but yeah, but it's interesting because then you see a different dynamic. You see a different side of him because when he's talking to her,
Yep.
it's like he's actually friendly. He
Hmm.
actually is engaged in the conversation, and you can tell he just really enjoys talking to her. All so much so to the point that even though she's there for a very serious reason, it's like he doesn't want her to go. And
Yeah.
like, so I thought that was interesting to see because you don't ever see him act like that, like ever,
Yeah.
where he's actually acting like a normal human that actually wants to interact with other humans. Like, and so it was kind of cool to see, I think, that side of him. Still a bit cringeworthy when it gets to the part of the scene where it's like she asks Rush to go back to her quarters, and I'm just like, oh no, what am I gonna see? I do not want to see this. And then thank God all they did was kiss and then that was stopped because I think I would have been like really like through a lot of trauma if they went any further in that scene with anything else. That would have been very traumatic.
Really? See, I have so much confliction about this. Like, because on the one hand, I don't know, like, okay, let's say if you look at the communication stones, the way that they're presented, like, there is this problem that you're using someone else's body. Like, that's the big
Yes.
issue. That's the
Yeah.
big issue is that it's someone else's body. But if you remove that, like, let's say we remove that because that's some kind of weird plot thing that I think not like they didn't think it through, but it's some kind of plot complication that wasn't really addressed. But I think we're supposed to suspend some kind of disbelief about this. So let's pretend that we're not really weirded out that it's being Camille's body. That's like a whole other level. I actually was really annoyed that like he didn't go through with it because like to me it's like, oh, this is like her one chance. And like he's just blowing her one chance. And who knows what's gonna happen after this. And so I was kind of there. I was actually a little bit mad with him.
True. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Like if you think of it from her perspective and how it's like it is like her one chance to kind of be with Rush, like I can see that. But like
But yeah, I know it's
also,
like,
man, would Camila been pissed?
yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, there's this problem with this body swapping thing because wasn't it also like when Young visited his wife, he was in the body of someone else.
I
And
feel like it's so screwed up, and I feel like they don't give enough attention to how screwed up it actually
yes,
is.
yes, I
And
agree.
all of them just treat it like, oh, it is what it is. Sure, it's a bit complicated. But it's like even like when Camille has went back and seen her partner and her partner just lovingly looks at whoever is there. I mean, we see Camille, right? We
Yes,
see
that's
her.
true.
But her partner is always so like open to being so loving towards whoever is right in front of her, treating her like it's Camille. And that
Yeah.
weirds me out because I'm just like, no way. I mean, can you imagine, like, I don't know, Martin, right? Your partner suddenly going off somewhere else, and then he comes back and visits you in like, I don't know, your random neighbor's body, and you're not gonna quite be able to feel like it could be the same way. with your random neighbor as you are
Yeah,
with your actual husband. So it's kind of like, I just
yeah,
feel like truly think how weird that would be. Like you're visually seeing someone else, and you're hearing
yes,
their voice. And so that's where like that whole concept really weirds me out, that they can all just be so like gung-ho about it, because it's like I understand the need to communicate and how that's really nice for them and to be able to see the ones that they love. But then to just kind of, I mean, they never mention it, but the people that switch over must say it's okay for them to use their body how they wish. There must be some sort of like waiver they
yeah,
sign, because it just doesn't make sense. It
yeah.
just like, and
I
like
mean, it's really,
potentially someone could get pregnant.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
eh,
imagine like
Like it's
Rush actually did.
confusing. Yeah.
Imagine Rush did go through with it and Camille got pregnant. Like that would be so weird. So I think there is
Yeah.
that like I think it's difficult because when we watch it, like you said, we see the people that we're supposed to like that the we see the person, but not that what the reflection on the outside is. And so
Yeah.
that makes it very, but yeah, imagine, I mean, for the poor I can't remember the character's name, but the girlfriend of Camille has had what, like basically three different girlfriends. And every time
Yeah.
just has to be like, sure. And like, I mean, Young's wife had to like sleep with Telford when you really think about it.
And how could she then just look at him and talk to him as normal?
It's
Like, you've
like how
seen everything at that
yesterday.
point.
It's like I know yesterday we got it on, but today you're not the same guy. And I mean, so when
Dang.
you think about it, with Rush, it's even weirder because it was actually Camille that was hitting on him basically, but as that other person. And so really he
Yeah, and
kissed
he hates
Camille.
her, right? Doesn't he hate her? I think he
I
does.
mean, they
Like,
have some tension, yeah.
uh,
So that like that aspect to me
yeah.
is very weird. But I mean, like when you remove that aspect, like if you remove the whole body swapping thing, it's like, okay, it's really sad that he didn't go through with it with her. It obviously meant a lot to her. I mean, who knows when he's gonna get another chance for that sort of thing. So I would have shot my shot. Shoot my I would have shot my shot.
Yeah.
Shot my shot there. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said,
Thank
maybe
God
this
he
is,
didn't, though. Like, because who was it that walked in? There was someone that walked in when they had kissed.
oh really? Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, who was it? Someone walked in not expecting him to be there, thinking it was just the girl. And
Oh
then they saw
no.
him like embracing her. I don't think they had necessarily seen them kiss, but you could tell like they had just stopped the kiss or something like that. Oh, who was it? Now I can't remember. But I mean, yeah, you never want to unintentionally see people to nah and rush. Like, I mean, I just feel like it's even worse. Kind of like, okay, so I feel like I have the same mentality as Eli on this. Like, I get really weirded out by the concept of Rush being with anyone just because he's kind of just like the grumpy dude. Like
Oh really?
the super focused grumpy dude that I'm just like, no, ew, no.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, remember before I said like if I was trapped on the Destiny, I probably would hit on Rush. But I mean, that's knowing how I respond
But
in this
that's
case.
you, and that's how you respond. You gravitate towards some unique individuals.
But I mean, also in the circumstance, like if I was in a healthy circumstance, I would not hit on Rush. But if I was like in an unhealthy circumstance, like trapped somewhere, then I could understand it. So,
Like it's nothing against Rush. It's just kind of like because of his personality,
yeah.
it's just hard to like envision him any other way, that he just seems so like laser focused and so mean that
Well,
it's
and I
just
mean that's
kind of
the
like you can't imagine him being in any sort of moment with anyone.
and I mean, like you said, look how he was with his wife, and so
Yeah.
I mean, I think probably that's maybe most people, I mean, maybe another scientist would be like his sweet spot because they can both obsess about their problems together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably what it would have to be. I think that's what would have to happen. Like, um, that seems like that would make sense. But like, I mean, because if you even think of someone else, like a lot of them are intense on that ship, right? I mean, because of the
Yes.
circumstances. So if you think of like Greer and how intense he is, and he always just looks like he wants to beat everyone up. Like, you know, he too, you can't really imagine him like really having a moment with anyone for a second because he's just always so angry. And
You know,
so, but
it's
at the
funny.
same time, it maybe more so I can imagine him than Rush, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. No, to me, like Greer, I just get the feeling like in a relationship, he would be like a big teddy bear. Like he'd be like the
Yeah. Yeah.
sweetest guy in a relationship, and he would like do anything for you. Like he would, and like he would be that kind of guy that's like, oh, that person looked at you wrong, and like just go beat him up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, maybe next time or at some point, we can also talk about Greer because there is the episode that goes into his backstory a little bit too. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I have to
but
say, I
yeah.
have to say, I really appreciate in universe that they're doing this sort of delving into backstories a lot more. I noticed that they're really going into this character backstories a lot deeper than other Stargates. And I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
part of that is, I mean, they did gradually over, but when you think about like, this is season one and how much you know of every character is quite deep.
Yeah.
And I appreciated some of the backstory of Rush because it makes you understand the character more. Um, and you understand there's probably some guilt there. And there's probably, I mean,
Yeah.
one, there's the obsessive personality. So, I mean, maybe the guilt is also deserved. Um, but
Yeah.
so it makes you feel very complicated about his character, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, Rush is by far one of my favorite characters. Like, I mean, he's like, there's just like, and I think too, that's what like I do appreciate, like you said, how they go into backstories because I think it's really necessary in the context of Stargate universe. Um, More so because there's not um the other layers of storytelling there. Like I don't know how to explain it. It kind of goes deeper into the character themselves
Yes.
than the overall story. Like the overall story is always there. It's always something happening, and sure there's a lot that starts happening, but it is so heavily driven by each individual um and kind of always a mystery like from the start of how each
Yes.
individual is, and it's like you're trying to like peel back the layers to figure them all out, and so like with some of them you figure out somewhat sooner than others, and others you're left just kind of wondering or they don't always fully go into it. So I do like that they have somewhat went into backstories of multiple of them because it does help you kind of like have a more like well-rounded view of each character,
Yes.
I think.
Totally.
And I
Totally.
think it was really necessary for Rush to have something shown to allow people to kind of almost feel sorry for him a little bit because otherwise you're just kind of irritated by him and thinking, oh, he's so difficult.
Yeah.
He's but even though I really like him, it's kind of still that layer of difficulty within his character that's always there. So I think it's nice to add a little bit of softness to that character.
Yeah. Are you, out of curiosity, I can't remember, did you feel sorry for him when Young left him to basically die?
I did. I
Me
did. I
too.
felt sorry for him. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's horrible that Young did that. I think the character would have to be really like really bad to be left there and I wouldn't care. I think it would really have to be someone that was truly awful and no redeeming quality whatsoever for me to be like, yeah, I don't give an F if they're left there. But I
Yeah.
think like regardless of like how Rush is, like no, he does not deserve to just be left on a planet to die. Like that is brutal.
Yeah.
So I did
Well, I
feel
think
bad for him. Yeah.
I always like see Rush as not one of like he never gives this like intentionally evil vibe. Like I don't think he has any like some people they really want to be bad because they hate people or hate things. And I actually think he probably loves humanity and loves purpose. It's just that I think that comes off in a way it's executed in a way that makes him seem as if he's very careless. Because I think
Yeah.
there's this lack of focus on individual like lives and livelihoods, right?
Well, also too, like if you think about it, any other character that had been taken by aliens, put in a container full of liquid and God knows what done, before they finally break free. And then Chloe too, she went through that slightly, but Rush more because he was gone longer. Um, that's traumatizing. They need to go through therapy to deal with that and unpack that. And in a sense, it's kind of shown how traumatized he is when you get to the following episode. It was called what was it called? Sorry, I'm just looking at my little app here. Um, Pain,
Mm-hmm.
because that's basically the episode where they get those weird ticks on them and they hallucinate
Oh yeah, yeah.
basically things that they're either fearful of or um, things that have some sort of meaning to them. And poor Rush was hallucinating the aliens that took him. And
Yep.
he was like terrified and like trying to run for his life. So that shows he has
How
not
awful
dealt
that
with
was.
that.
Yeah.
Like
How
that would be terrifying. Yeah.
yeah, who could actually like survive that and not be terrified of that or like
Yeah. I mean, it's like this is gonna sound so weird, but because like too, like also what happened in that episode, if you remember, Camille gets like stabbed by something because they think she's like I think
yes.
Rush thinks that she's an alien, and then Greer thinks that she's the evil version of herself. And so it's like she almost dies in that episode. And I'm just like, she's really gotten the shitty end of the stick with these
Yeah.
last few episodes. Like, I do kind of feel like it would be an odd coupling, but it would be weirdly cute if her and Rush ended up being a thing.
Yes.
I guess I feel like they both just need it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. If for nothing else, just for like the hookup, because you're
Yeah.
on a ship and what else are you gonna do? Like you're stuck there. I mean, you might as well like
But it's just like I just feel so bad for her because I feel like she kind of just always seems like the character that none of them are fully close to and like all that much because of some
because
of the
she's the
decisions
IOA,
she's
yeah.
made and Rush is kind of in that same boat. So they could kind of like bond over the fact that both of them are so hated.
True. And they did technically kiss, right? They did technically
Yeah.
kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
And
I
he
mean, you're
did look
right.
at her weirdly when he saw her next because he was like, yeah, I don't know. So,
Yeah. But you're right. She did have a bad run because from being body swapped where like she was basically on feeding tube and then with her partner and
for a while too. Yeah.
couldn't properly be with her partner to like then yeah, getting stabbed and like I mean, yeah, she's kind of had some
Yeah.
rough ends of the stick actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah,
But
but
yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say like um I think it's interesting that I thought at least maybe like you would somewhat have the opinion of, oh, I like Rushmore later on after I found his backstory, and then he's like sad.
Ah,
But it's interesting that you said, no, in the beginning, I already like didn't have a problem with him.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I've always liked him. It is weird. I do agree. It's weird for me because I would think that about me too. I would think like, oh no, Emily wouldn't. I'm like talking about myself as another person, but I wouldn't think that I would like Rush, and then I think that would make sense to think that about me, basically. Um, I think. I think because I know how you are with being very into people's brains. Um I
It
think
makes me
it's no
sound like a brain
surprise.
eating alien.
Maybe you are. Maybe this podcast is just a disguise so you have not been found out yet.
Exactly.
You like you eat the knowledge out of everyone. um but what was I saying? Yeah, I just think like it wasn't a surprise to me that you liked Rush. Sure, of course, initially I'm always like with anything, whenever me and you have talked, whenever you've said something at first, like I'm just like, oh, what? Like when you had said about hitting on Rush and stuff, like it did like kind of like, but then I'm just like, no, this is Alyssa we're talking about here. It kind of makes sense. It makes sense. But at
I
first
mean,
I was a bit surprised.
I feel like you said who you would hit on too. Like if you were in that, I mean, not like in real life, but like if you were in that situation.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I had said Lieutenant Scott.
yes, that's exactly, yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Which makes actually
And
much more sense, really.
yeah, and I liked Eli too. Um, yeah, I think those were the two, was Eli and Lieutenant Scott, but Eli more in a friend zone sense.
Poor Eli. See, I feel like in a healthy situation, Eli is the one I would hit on. Like if I was out and about in the world and just, hanging with my
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
group, the one that I would probably like, but in a non-healthy situation, I'm trapped on a ship, like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to make the healthy choices.
yeah. Although I do feel like um Lieutenant Scott isn't a bad dude. Like I feel like
I feel
he
like he'd
kind
be
of
a
like
healthy
has his
choice.
player ways, but like I mean at the same time, besides that, like he seems like a genuine, decent human.
Yeah. No, I think he'd make sense inside or outside the ship. Like if you said, "Oh, I would date Lieutenant Scott outside the ship," I'd be like, "All right, that makes sense." And if you said, "I date him
Yeah.
inside the ship," I'd be like, "Okay, that makes sense."
But the thing is neither one of us said young. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think especially because of like one, how he behaves with Rush. Like I couldn't, and
Yeah.
two, something about his relation with his wife and then his relationship with Tamara, like I don't like. Like I'm
Mm-mm.
not really a big
No.
fan of like sneaking, cheating, like kind of thing.
Yeah. No. No, no, no. But yeah, so anyways, like I think like it's really interesting. Forget about young. I think it's really interesting, like with Rush, kind of like up to the point that I've seen at least, like how his character has been and what we've kind of learned about him up to this point. So I'm really like curious, like what happens next. I'm so close to the end of the first season. I'm excited about that. And then we can also talk about the first season too. That would be cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it does also make me sad that like I know it's only for 2 seasons that we
Yes.
have Universe. Um, because it really has kind of, shifted to me actually really liking the show, which I knew I would because I knew I had in the past. It's just it takes about half of the season for me to kind of get into it. But I'd be curious now if I rewatch it because at some point I will rewatch it because I'm currently watching SG1 with my daughter. And so then eventually we'll get to Universe at some point.
True,
I'm
true.
curious. I'm curious if she will watch it and like it. Um, because I did tell her like you might need to like get through like half of it before you actually like it. um but I'm curious how I will feel on the rewatch again of that because then it's kind of closer to the time that I've watched it that then I know what to expect.
Yes.
So yeah. But
I'm also
yeah, I'm
really
getting
curious.
sidetracked.
I have to say, I'm very curious, like if we will have completely different opinions by the end of season two, because I know Rush is one of those characters where you just kind of get the feeling there's something else underneath there that we don't know about or some motivation, and maybe we'll like, oh wait,
Sorry, my
maybe
immature mind.
maybe in light of everything else we just talked about, that was a poor choice of words. But But like maybe it will uncover something that will actually make us hate him. Because maybe like we
Yeah.
go, oh wait, this was his motivation all along. What is wrong with this guy? So I'm really curious because I
Yeah.
could also see that totally happening. That it's like, oh, he's an ass, but we like him anyways because he's all for like you know, the bigger picture and everything like that. And then by the end, we're like, nah, what a dick. He's just hardcore dick. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think too, we're going to be so frustrated regardless because of it just going to the end of 2 seasons and they weren't expecting it to not continue. We're probably just going to be left on a cliffhanger and things with the characters that are left unresolved that are going to drive us crazy. So
yep. Oh, totally.
expect to be mad by
Yeah, I
the
agree.
end of season 2, regardless of probably mad that like just we never find out certain things, like
Totally.
but
Totally.
yeah, it will be interesting, when we do get through both seasons to kind of maybe reflect back onto what we've thought of with
Hmm.
the different characters and if our opinions have changed, because that would be interesting, especially with universe. I feel like there's so much more in a sense, even within a short period of time with each character, that it's highly possible that our thoughts of them could completely change. So
Totally.
um
Totally.
yeah.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. So it'll be interesting. And I'm curious what our viewers would have to say about their impressions of Rush and their feelings about primarily their relationship with his wife and then also with Amanda. Um, Beyond that, we haven't really seen, so no spoilers. But
Yeah.
we'd love to hear from you.